What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we're coming to you live from a couple of places on the internet. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram. Maybe you're listening later. Wherever you get your podcasts, that's all good. And we have some great guests for you tonight. But first, I wanted to give a shout out and thank you to anybody who stopped by the table at Terrificon in Connecticut this weekend.
I heard it was a terrific con.
It was, in fact, a terrific convention. I had a great time and met so many people who listened to all of our various podcasts, which was awesome. And I legitimately
all of
mean
them?
that.
Come on.
Yeah, maybe not all of them, but there were some people that listened to, like, The Stack, some people that only listened to the live show, some people that listened to both, some people that listened to some of the TV podcasts.
Some of your neighbors, Pete, that listened to you rant and rave through the wall.
Boy.
Yeah,
know?
that was one guy came up to me and was like, I love Pete's shouts.
Yeah.
I was like, that's not a podcast, but it could be, I
Hey,
guess.
I'll
Is
take
it?
it. I'll take
But
it.
really, I loved all of it. I did want to give one shout out. This was nothing against anybody else's story, but I think my favorite story a listener told me over the weekend. There's one guy who told me that he has 2 comic book stores in town. So what he does first thing on Wednesday morning is he goes out to one comic book store on the far side of town, picks up a couple of books, gets in his car, puts on the Stack podcast and listens to it on the way to the other comic book store so
To
he can
then
have
get-
some recommendations.
Oh, wow. Nice.
That's my favorite thing I've ever heard.
That's
So,
That's the
That's-
best use of our...
It's smart and fun, and it's cool that he double dips. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
and I guess it helps that
Spreads
his
the
2
love.
comic book shops are 2 hours away, I'm assuming, so he can listen to the
Yeah.
entire Stack.
Yeah, exactly. Does he ever ask the second shop for some of our random bit things?
Yeah,
me.
by the time he gets to the second comic shop, he's like, well, I've heard them say absolute nonsense for the past 20 minutes. You got any of that?
Do you have any of that yet? And while we're thanking, I want to thank whoever gave my wife terrific COVID, because I had COVID all weekend.
Oh,
Man, you're
So
killing it.
that's one of many reasons that I wasn't at Terrificon.
well, you seem to be fine now based on the drink in your
Feeling
hand.
better.
Oh, look at you! Look at you!
All right,
Doing
well,
good.
we have 2
I'm
guests.
giving
who
a
are
little
waiting.
treat to my my white blood cells. Drink up, lads. You did your work.
Yes. Well, why don't we bring in our guests? They are patiently waiting, and I'm very excited to talk to both of them. Our first guest is one of the creators behind The Cursed Library
Yeah.
from Archie Comics. Ladies and gentlemen, Eliot Rahal. Elliot, hello.
Hey, welcome.
You're on mute, Elliot. Yeah,
Got
there you
it. Got it. Hi, Alex. Hi, Pete. Hi, Justin. Thanks for having me back again, especially since last time when I was 20 minutes late to my first time being on the show.
Oh my
If you
gosh.
recall at all.
I'm late all the time. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's all
True
good.
story.
You are here on time this time. We're happy
This time
to
I
see
made
you.
sure.
We are happy to chat about this book. So this is the next Archie premiere event, I believe is the moniker for it. And the
Yes.
previous one was Archie Judgment Day. So these are like prestige format books. And not only that, this is bringing together a lot of the threads from the Archie horror side of the universe all together, focusing on 3 characters in particular. You got Jinx, you got Madam Satan, and you got Danielle Malloy. Not Daniel Malloy from Interview with the Vampire, but Danielle Malloy.
Danielle.
Exactly. Totally different
Correct.
character.
Yes.
So it's bringing them together in this big
But
event.
real quick, Alex, can't we call Satan a character in the Marvel universe at this, or the Archie universe at this point?
Yeah,
he's just part.
he's kind of the main character.
He's sort of the main guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I would say like Lucifer's like not a backseat role any longer. I mean, it's easy to make him one in a way. It's like, oh, it's just like this pulsating evil. I don't know why I use the word pulsating, but
You did though.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Yeah,
Let me ask you a
blink an
question,
eye.
and this is a classic question. Do you want to see Lucifer end up with Betty or Veronica?
Ooh, I mean, what is it? I'm not going to make that joke. I'm not going to make a joke. I'm not going to do
Good
it.
for you. Good for
I'm not
you.
going to do it. I'm not going
You
to do
passed
it.
the test.
I am good.
All right, well, let's talk about this
Yeah.
book, though.
Let's talk about the book because it's great.
It is great. It comes out tomorrow from Archie Comics, at least the first issue. You got Cursed Library Alpha, then Cursed Library Omega is the next issue.
Correct.
And then the third issue, I'm honestly forgetting what the title is.
It's
for the third.
Unbound.
Unbound. There we go.
Yes.
There you
But the idea here is that Jinx has discovered, as we saw in the free comic book day preview, that all of these stories, all of these horror stories are connected by the cursed library of the title. So knowing that, how did that spin into the book the way that you crafted it?
Yeah. I mean, it's all been news to me as we've been building it. I guess, and I mean in like a joyful way. Like it's like, so I don't know if I'm like quoting the discourse correctly already, but like the past 3 or 4 or 5 years, like Archie has been doing a lot of like interesting sort of releases of their work, a lot of like one shots, these prestige events and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been cool.
And a lot of people have been like, what is the point of all of this? Right. And especially with like the Archie horror one shots. And so like the cursed library is like the point. Right. And it's the idea of like bringing all of that stuff into a sort of funnel, into a reason, and weaving it together while also at the same time putting a total pin on it. Right. So like the goal is to like, what has been happening? What is this about? Where is this going? And now also like we're resetting for the future. And it's been really, really cool to be a part of. The art's incredible, and working with Max has been great. And it's been a challenge just because it's 3 issues and there's a lot to put in there, but like we did our best, and I'm just really excited.
Reading this, I felt I was reminded that, I mean, we're longtime comic readers, so we're like, Archie, it's about like being in high school and figuring things out. But really with Riverdale and Afterlife with Archie, so many people have come to these characters through a horror lens.
Right.
So then it starts to make so much more sense why this is such a powerful sort of connection point between everything that's been happening.
I certainly came to Archie through the horror lens back when they started doing all that stuff, and then I think in my head that was only like 5 years ago, and it was like, no, that was like 15 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and then so that's the lens I came into it with initially as a fan, and then like, I mean, I think what is it like? I'm sure there's some movie quote or slogan like, high school is hell, right? Like yeah. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't pay any amount of money to go back to being 15.
I love the idea that your high school slogan written in stone above the door was high
hell.
School. It's hell.
It's hell. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. They went for total honesty in my high school. They're like, you. No one will ever believe in you. Oh God.
I wanted to quickly say that I really agree with you on the art. It's fantastic, but I also love the story that we have here. It's a great to kind of see all these characters interacting. I also like the take on Lucifer. We've seen a lot of different takes on old Morning Star there, so it was cool to see the dad is just like, hey, I just want my family together. Sure, it might be evil, but it was a fun kind of take on that, and I enjoyed it.
I really appreciate that. It's been great working with Max because she's got like a theology background. I'm really into like this stuff as well, and it's like I like exploring different angles of like pop religion, of like, oh, like, is the devil a bad guy, or what kind of bad guy is he?
Yeah.
Or at least like, is he some imperial presence, or is he just some guy doing his job, or like, and like, obviously, like, I have the things I'm putting in there, but you want to watch that? I'm sorry, my daughter's potty training as I do this interview. And
parents' life is real, man. That's cool.
Yeah, no, we're all potty training people as well, just off camera.
Yeah, me too.
I'm potty training Pete.
It's not going well.
No, I mean, I think we all make mistakes. It happens, and we can't get mad at each other. I'm just
potty training. It's hell.
Yeah. But no, yeah. I mean, as I was just saying, sorry guys.
I
It's
love
all right.
it's
We're getting a
fine.
nice
Fantastic.
tour of your place. It's
Yeah,
great.
it's good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My tiny house is my daughter.
I love. Did
sits
you
on
press
her
a button, a potty training button on the wall?
I had to go turn the oven off, guys. My wife isn't home from work yet, so I'm like doing three things here.
I appreciate you two being here when there's so much going on.
Yeah, it's just constant. It's just like a
Right.
constant of spinning plates, and if I stop, I'll stop breathing, and that's a
Yeah, don't
bigger
stop,
problem.
please. Yeah.
But what I was saying earlier about this, coming at it from coming at it from that angle, and then with Satan, and then I haven't written. I've only read Jinx and Danny's stories. I haven't had much experience with them, and so that's been really fun to step into, and like writing friendship. I love the power of friendship.
Yeah.
I think that's like truth be told, like the real key to this story is like Satan's coming at it with like this sort of like long lost daughter, like scion angle, but maybe he's got his own thing going on, his own secret play on the side. But like all of the core relationships are like based on friendship. Like Danny's initial friendship to Jinx and how they start out strong there, but then also like the most fun for me has been Madam Satan. Like, and Madam Satan is this like I love writing like an anti-hero who is truly an anti-hero, and she is like motivated she will only do good if it like motivates. She only does good if it helps her in that moment, and she's not doing it because it's the right thing to do. It's only because it's like,
right,
this is going to help me in this particular moment. And like being able to bring her to a place where she like busts out of that in her own way, like that has been like very rewarding. And like putting that to a close over the past 5 years has been that's been really cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, since you've got this whole cursed library that contains all of Archie horror in it, we see a little bit of this without spoiling anything in the first issue, but what were you most excited to pull on? Was it Vampironica, Jughead the Hunger, creating original things in the horror universe? What were you most excited to do, given the conceit of this book?
Here's the thing. It's like the answer is like I'm excited to do all of those things, but the problem is space and time, right? So like I really had to pick my battles, and so did Max, and like so it's like we had to like we could have done. There's so many things you could have done, like an infinite amount, like so many characters and from Greendale or Riverdale, but I think the thing that excited me the most was like with every opportunity we have, which is like 3-page sequences, 4-page sequences, like find a way to insert like something like a gag in there that kind of like becomes like plot related, and like really like just put as much of that into it as possible, just for fun, to see what we could get away with. And like I did get away with something really fun, and I think the second issue. I think it was the second issue. Yeah, and I get like I'm really excited about it.
Cool.
And like and it'll be fine at the end too. I don't want to give away too much.
Sure. Well, let me ask you this, unless this is spoiling too much, but this is very much the culmination of a lot of different stories like we're talking about. But at the same time, the Archie premiere events are essentially supposed to be like this prestige format, all in itself type series. So when we do get to the end here, is that teeing up more? Is it its own complete 3-issue story? How do you see it?
So I'm not in charge.
Okay.
But,
Alex, he's not in charge.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, no, you're good. I wish I like would. It's like my opportunity to incept different opportunities for myself, right? But from what I understand and how I have written it, and how Max has written it, and how we work together as a team, the idea is that at the end of this, every component from the Cursed Library like past milieu. Not only it'll all be encapsulated. This is sort of like a capstone, right? And you'll be able to enjoy those things as a reader then through like an actual library of being able to like follow it along, and it's giving the whole thing shape. And then yes, the jumping off point is something new, or at least that is what I assume. I'm putting that there with a big asterisk, right?
Wow. Yeah.
Cool.
Well, obviously this is coming out tomorrow. We plugged a little bit about it. Before we let you go, though, is there anything else you want to plug? Anything else coming out that people should check out?
Yeah. So I am. I co-wrote a new graphic novel from Vault Comics with
Nice.
Def Leppard, and it's called Hysteria. It's Def Leppard. Def Leppard presents Hysteria. Co-wrote it with Phil Cullen, and it's got art by Alex Schlitz and World Design and Fabi Marquez, and I'm really excited about it. I've been working on this thing for like a year and a half, and it's pretty totemic, and it's about a killer demon guitar thing and pop pumping, trying to make it big. We went to the show yesterday, my wife and I.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun. It was great. They're really nice.
What was it?
So,
What was it like at the show? So you worked on the book, and then you saw the show just now. Were you
the Def Leppard show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Were you like, now I see?
What do you mean?
Like, it all came together when you saw them perform live.
It's different
I don't
things,
know.
Justin.
I think
right,
it's different
Eliot?
things.
It's different things. Like
I
this
just saw
is
their
yes,
concert.
but
No,
it's
I just
different
mean
things.
seeing them perform. Like,
What Justin is saying is like in the book. In the book, a bunch of people get
completion.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I,
I'm
like,
saying
I
you
saying, like,
you murdered someone with Def Leppard.
Teed up the concert.
Got it. Some sort of like nirvanic like experience of where
Yes,
like I like
exactly.
reached a final form. Yes,
Yeah.
it did occur. But
You poured some sugar on yourself and you transformed. It was a beautiful moment.
Thank you. Very well done. Very well done. Thank you very much.
It was only a matter of time before one of us said that. Elliot, I can't wait to check that out. Cursed Library is awesome. Please get back to the potty training. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Most of all, the potty training.
Thank you for your
real
patience.
project.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, appreciate it. Sorry for all the commotion.
Good luck with the potty training, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
That's the main takeaway from the interview.
Well,
Thanks,
congrats.
Okay. Have a nice day, everyone.
Later.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Once again, the book is called The Cursed Library Alpha. It is coming out tomorrow from Archie
blast.
Comics. It is a blast. There are lots of fun Easter eggs and other things for folks who have followed the Archie Comics all along. And talking about Vault Comics working with some musicians is a perfect segue to talk about our next book and bring in our next guest. She is the writer of Dying Inside, which is coming out next month from Vault Comics. Ladies and gentlemen, Hannah Klein.
Hey,
Hannah, welcome. Hello.
Hey, how are you?
Yay.
Good, how are you guys?
Good. So you co-wrote this book with Pete Wentz. The art is by Lisa Sterl.
Mm-hmm.
It's awesome. I don't want to spoil too much of it because it's not coming out until sometime next month. You got an
Sorry, my
adorable
cat's being
cat.
annoying. She's actually in the book. Say hi.
Yes.
Oh,
Wow.
Oh my gosh. What's your
Meeting
cat's
someone in
name?
real life.
Do you mind if I ask?
Her name is Summer, but in the book, I named her Shrimps because I adopted her when she was already very elderly, and I felt I couldn't change her name because that would be cruel. So
that's nice.
I gave her the name I would have named her if I had.
In the
Oh,
book.
nice.
Oh, that's funny.
This book is great, and I just want to say up front,
congrats.
also for anybody listening or anybody who's watching live, just to give a trigger warning here, because we may have some discussions of suicidal ideation, because that's the idea of the book. So to give a little bit of the plot, and then I'll kick it over to you for whatever I missed or whatever you want to elaborate on. We are following a girl who is a big fan of Elliott Smith. She decides she wants to take her own life, tries to do that with a dagger that she bought online, but it turns out the dagger is cursed and instead makes her seemingly immortal. So she ends up on a quest to try to figure out how to finally take her own life that spins off into some very interesting and surprising directions. Hannah, what did I miss there in my summary?
I think that you didn't miss anything in your summary. I think that It's funny because that is obviously the plot. That is the plot.
Right.
But I think that I always think of it as a really like a graphic novel about like female friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's also like for me at least like a main headline of like what it's about, I guess, like two girls kind of finding each other and learning what true friendship really is as a 16-year-old girl, which is stressful.
Well, I think, like you're saying, that is the great hook of it. Like, what I set up was it's the inciting incident, it's the hook of the book, it's the way that you could sell it. But really, it is about these two women as they find each other and sort of feel each other out and ultimately form this very deep friendship. Where did that come from? Like, did it start with I want to write a thing about a cursed dagger? Did it start with the female friendship? Talk to a little about the inspiration a little bit.
Sure. It's actually funny because this is the first time I've ever written in this space before.
Cool.
I actually am a screenwriter. And so originally, but I've always like writing a graphic novel is like the coolest thing. I've always wanted to do it. I just originally pitched this idea as actually a movie idea, and it was supposed to kind of be like a love letter to Jennifer's Body and Scott Pilgrim vibes. And and awesome. Yeah, and so I pitched it as a movie idea, and in film right now there's a big push for adapting based on original IP. And so they were like,
what are you talking about?
You wouldn't believe it. And because of that, I said, because everyone was like, no one really wants to do just like regular old original movies right now. They want things based off of other things and based on IP. So I said, okay, bet. Let's make it into a graphic novel first. And really, though, it was Pete Wentz's idea, because we collaborate on film stuff, and I was telling him about it, and he was like, that actually sounds like it would be a really great graphic novel. And then it kind of clicked for me that this actually should have been but this should have been a graphic novel the whole time. Right. In terms of like the content and what I wanted to be able to portray, especially like in the first iteration of the idea, because standards and practices with film are very tough, especially with like teenage people. So it really ended up being like actually the best medium for it, which is where it ended up. But that it just came from my brain, and there's no like.
So you didn't actually find a mystical dagger one time in your life, is what you're saying?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wish. No,
well, you probably ordered something online and it turned out to be not what you ordered.
That is definitely true. Also, I'm like a big eBay girl. Like I do a lot of weird late night eBay purchasing. And I did go through a phase where I was collecting intricate knives. I was at the time taking Ambien. I don't take it anymore, so I haven't had any knives delivered lately. But
Ambien Beast was calling for knives.
Yeah, exactly. But I am a big Elliot Smith fan, and I think that really also part of where this came from was like, and I'm sure you guys, if you had any emo phases, you would agree, when you're like a teenager and you like love someone like that, you kind of romanticize their pain and kind of want to somehow like wear their skin a little bit. So it was also kind of based on personal experience.
Yeah, like how you listen to Elliot Smith, I listen to Two Become One by the Spice Girls a lot. So very similar experiences.
Very, very similar.
And we know that's a real reference.
That's actually true. He's actually sharing something that's true.
Oh, really?
By the way, that's not an emo phase, Alex.
Really? Are you sure? Wannabe? That seems very emo to me. I mean, I don't know.
I guess it depends on your definition of the word. It is full of emotion.
Yeah, it's emotional, maybe.
Yes.
The way you do it, anyway, it is.
Yes.
Now, Hannah, I want to ask, because had you written this as a screenplay, a full screenplay first, or was it the idea? And if whichever it was, how did the adaptation process happen? Which is got to be tricky working in a new medium that is similar but quite different. As well.
I did not write any of the script. I just had the idea. And before I wrote the script, I was told that there could be better ways to go about telling that story. So this was all, and also like, it was just the basic idea that I came up with first. It didn't include like all of the B plots and all of the, the details that now exist within the book. But so I just wrote it as a graphic novel. There wasn't anything I was adapting it from.
Well, to throw out a couple of compliments your way that maybe eventually will come around to a question, but based on what we're talking about here, we read and review a ton of comics. And in particular, you kind of get this thing where somebody who is a celebrity comes in and they do a book and they're the thinly veiled main character of the book. And you could tell, okay, this is a movie pitch in comic book form. I got none of that from this. I mean, even beyond the fact that, like, I don't think Pete Wentz is directly either of these characters.
No.
It's a really confident debut, and I was surprised to learn that this was your first graphic novel.
Thanks.
Just because, again, there's this temptation, I think, for first-time writers to overpack it with words, fill it with dialogue, over-explain things, but you're really leaning on Lisa Sterl's visuals here in a big way. Was it that way from the initial draft, or did you end up honing it down to this level?
Well, and I will say, just to maybe sharpen a question there, like pacing's
Thanks.
like the hardest thing. How did you figure out the pacing of this with the art?
That's really good questions. I think so. What is interesting, what I will say is, if anyone is a screenwriter, I do think that the mediums are so cohesive. They go together so well. If you can write a screenplay, writing a graphic novel is very similar, because it's not like I'm a novelist where I'm, describing how the leaves are falling from the trees for like a page and a half before we even get to like the action. Like I'm already, like when I write a screenplay, we're already in the middle of the action because people are talking, and that's kind of what it is. And it was kind of the same. The thing that was, really difficult for me, that luckily Adrian at Vault, my editor, was so helpful with, was I did not know how to how to basically cut up my script into the panels. Mm-hmm. So that was like something that was basically what I was doing, was I was kind of writing it as if I was writing like an episode of television or a screenplay. And he was helping me learn what I need to keep in, what needs to go, and kind of just like how to actually physically block it out for Lisa, which like basically like learning how to make panels and things like that. But overall, it's a very similar writing style. And then you have the actual art. The art is essentially like the film itself. It's like very like similar. Sorry if I'm not being concise.
No, please.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, it's totally
could you talk? Oh, go ahead, Pete.
This is kind of silly. I just wanted to say I was really, like Alex was saying, impressed by this book. We read it a lot. I love the friendship at the center of it. The suicide stuff, the knife stuff was, a little tough for me. But the fact that you revealed that you ordered a bunch of knives online, I can't get past. So I just wanted to ask you real quick, like, coolest knife or favorite knife that you have in your collection, if you wouldn't mind talking about it real quick.
I wouldn't mind. It's funny because I forgot about this collection until recently, when I was doing a music video for the band that I work with, which is in the book, Daisy Grenade. And
nice.
They said, Hannah, do you have any like daggers or knives? And I go, no. And then they were like, really? And I go, actually.
Wait, yes, I have a lot of them. A startling amount.
You should bring that up. No, I think that my favorite is I have one that like literally looks like a butterfly. It's like a blue like rainbow, like when you see those like gas stains on the pavement after it rains, and it's that like color. It's like that color, and it's looks like this. Then you like open it up, and then it becomes like two different knives.
Oh man,
it's really sick.
That is very cool.
Let me ask about the musical aspect a bit, because
Pete's
still stuck on the knives.
He loves these knives.
He loves these knives. He does. Pete very famously loves nunchucks. And
oh, cool.
Nunchakus, yes.
Yes.
Taught myself.
Those. I also want those throwing stars.
Oh yeah, you gotta have those. I also use throwing knives as well.
I learned how to throw knives when I was an intern at a theater company in college.
Wow. What
Wow.
college teaches you how to throw
That's
knives?
great.
Well,
Yeah.
it wasn't my college. It was the internship that I had. The like stage manager had a knife throwing thing on the roof of the building in the West Village. But what's so crazy is I was like, if I throw this knife off the roof and
Yeah.
I miss,
Yeah, you don't want to miss.
Yeah, geez, that's
It's
high
all right.
stakes.
There's a lot of other NYU students, so it's not a huge deal. You could just,
Yeah, exactly.
You can sub the bid.
we're a dime a dozen. It's fine.
Exactly. I want to ask you about the musical aspect as you tease there, because not only is the band that you manage or used to manage, do you still
I
manage?
used to manage them, and now
Yeah.
I'm their creative director
Okay.
because they got too successful for me to continue. I'm very bad at business.
I was gonna say it's not a promotion if I've ever
Yeah.
heard one.
They're in the book, but also they're providing songs. And wait, I wrote down the exact phrase because it's being sold as a musically immersive experience. And there are QR codes throughout the book where you can unlock poems that you and Pete Wentz wrote, as well as songs from the band. Talk about that aspect of the book a little bit.
Yeah, we also have a pretty killer, no pun intended, playlist, which is in the book with a QR code, and it like leads you to the Spotify that has the playlist there.
Cool.
This is another thing that was lent that I took from the way that I write film. I love to write music into whatever scene I'm doing. So you'll notice a lot in the book, like lyrics will kind of float across the page as they're being sung. Also, obviously, with the fact that Elliot Smith is such a main like touch point, it makes sense that like his music would be in it. I had the main character Ash work at a venue just so I could put in a couple live bands. To be honest, like between all of us here and anyone watching, I'm acting like this is so private. Between us, I also am thinking about like the future and like what kind of opportunities that I can have in the future for other iterations of this world and this like character. And I really I think that having bands performing in the background or being at a music venue, I just think it adds a really interesting element to like any scene. And also obviously like with Pete involved, it kind of just feels so natural to have music be hand in hand with the story. And also as a teenage girl, and really a lot of teenagers, especially ones that are passionate about music, it really kind of can like guide you to understand like where they're at emotionally, depending on like what they're listening to. And also, you know, I feel like I used music a lot to kind of like figure out my own feelings, and it really kind of was the soundtrack to my life. And I feel like Ash is similar because she loves Elliot Smith that much. There's no way that she's not constantly listening to her headphones. So yeah, it's kind of used as like a roadmap to her insides, I guess, and like the story's insides.
I wanted to ask you about balancing the suicidal ideation a little bit, because obviously that's a main focus of the book. You start off with that. For anybody who's listening who is curious to check it out, it's also very light and funny, and there's witchy goings on, and there's big, hilarious action sequences that happen in the book as well. So it's not a grim slug, but you also don't back off from the idea that this is a character who wants her life to end at the same time. So as Justin was saying, from the tone perspective, how did you balance those two things?
Well, so I'm very, very passionate about anything to do with shedding light on or destigmatizing mental health issues, any mental illnesses. A lot of my work centers around that, and I'm really passionate about it. And because of that, I do think that there needs to be more representation where you kind of see it from all sides, in terms of if someone's depressed, it doesn't mean that they're depressed all the time. You can be suicidal and also have a sense of humor. And that being said, I think that especially with Ash, there is a sense she's serious about what she's saying. Like she does want her life to end, but at the same time, she's 16. And I think that there is this sense of like, for me, especially when I was that age, if I ever felt that way, like she doesn't really even know anything yet. Like she's a kid, and the reason that she's kind of so flamboyant about the way that she talks about it, especially at the top, she's very like, and I want to die, and like this is what's happening. It's because she doesn't really understand the gravity of what she's even saying. And so this whole thing is like a huge blessing in disguise, because it's not really what she actually probably wants, but she doesn't know how to handle her feelings, and she doesn't know like what's coming next. She's not thinking far ahead. So I guess I kind of just wanted to bring a little bit of like levity to something that's very serious, but I just, I think that I like seeing a character with depression represented as someone who with a little bit more dimension, and not just like, I'm depressed, like 13 Reasons Why Euphoria, I want to end it. Like she's a little bit more.
Well, and I think that does, like you're saying, speak to the reality of just it having those emotions in one. And I when you said Jennifer's Body earlier, I felt like that's just a nice sort of guiding star of the tone of like, because you can do multiple things at once that seem discordant, but actually that matches real life.
Yeah, I think Jennifer's Body is pretty much like definitely a North Star for all of my work, and definitely this. And, and also I think, and tell me if I achieved this, because I hope I did, but I do think that it's not too gory when you see everything that happens. And I tried to keep it pretty like almost slapsticky so that it wasn't too like intense. There's not a lot of like blood or anything like there's a little, but not a lot. Like it's pretty tame.
I think like Pete was saying, the hardest scene to read is probably the initial scene with the knife, just because of the idea of it, of feeling this pain the character's going through, and literally and physically and mentally. But pretty much after that point, like you're saying, she scratches herself sometimes, but it heals. And I think a lot of that comes not just from your writing, but also Lisa Sturl's art that just complements it perfectly.
Her art is stunning.
Yeah, it's so good. Is. And I had a question about it, again, as a first time working on a graphic novel. What was it like getting the art, and how much of a voice did you have in sort of the color choice? Because I feel like that's really pops.
It's powerful.
So incredible. So me and Lisa talked before she started doing any of the art. And we kind of like so she's obviously like the visionary that came up with like everything that you see, but the inspiration that I sent her was I sent her a lot of like manga, and like we kind of like talked beforehand about how we wanted to use color also as a roadmap, not just the playlist, but also color to kind of show where Ash's head is at. You'll kind of notice that she kind of like mapped out moods. And depending on what character is on the page with Ash, like the color scheme will change, as you can see in like what you have up on the screen. Like Liv is always going to have like some bright pinks, and like if it's like a Liv heavy scene. And then I guess she was like, I think it would be really cool to like use that like manga inspiration, and like really like be very choosy and specific about what colors are on the page. And in certain parts it's extremely colorful, and in certain parts it's almost like black and white. And so we like talked beforehand about like the general vision, and then she went forward and did what you see, which is like, so I couldn't have asked for a better artist. She's incredible, and she has such a cool vision.
What about I wanted to ask you about the backgrounds, just to take this a step further, because unless this is just the PDF, it's gray, it's newsprint colored rather than white. What led to that choice?
I think that's also because of the manga references that I sent, because it kind of is like I am really I'm just like, I have a copy right here that I want to like double check. It's like a newspaper gray. Because it's like in those books, that is kind of like the background. It's like a muted. It's not like bright white. It's like a muted grayish white.
Yeah.
I think that's what I assume it was.
It works really well for the book, I think, and for the tone of the book too. It definitely feels very different from what you might expect from the cover otherwise.
Right.
Yeah, and the just one last thing, the color fields really work sort of as a way of rhyming with the music of the book as well, because it does it washes over you the same way that music sometimes does in the real world. You feel it in that sort of singular way, or it gets turned up or turned down at different times.
Yeah, and also something that she did that I absolutely love, I'm scrolling or I'm flipping through the book now, is that in big moments of friendship between Liv and Ash, she actually does this really cool starry background. There's one page where she shows her nail polish or something, and she does. Oh, I have it here. So, do you mind if I just do this?
Yeah,
She does all this really cool.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
And then it happens again later at a big moment in their friendship, and it kind of is supposed to represent Liv's magical qualities, kind of bringing Ash back to life. And I just love those kinds of things where it only happens twice, maybe 3 times in the book total, but only with those moments. And it's just I just think she brought so much care and detail that I could have never even imagined. It's just, I love the art so much. I think it's so special.
Now, you already teased this a little bit, saying you're thinking about a little bit more of the world and potentially continuing it. It definitely ends on a note where there could be more. It might be too early because it's not coming out for a month, but do you have stuff planned out? Are there things that you're thinking in that direction?
Yeah, I think I love to think about what when I write anything, I like to think what happened before and what's going to happen next, just as a general way of writing, because I think that it helps so that you can kind of trick yourself into doing Easter eggs if you know what's going to happen next already. So yeah, of course I have ideas. If we decided to make another one, I definitely have it in my head.
Oh, nice.
Before we let you go, 2 things for you. Oh, actually, I completely forgot to present something at the beginning here, so maybe 3 things for you. So every week on the show, and this sounds like a joke, but it's not a joke, there is a professional chef down in New Orleans named Brett Macris. He's from a restaurant called Wild South. He either curates or creates a cocktail for us. And this week, he came up with a cocktail based on the book called Somnia.
Oh.
So this is based on, for anybody who hasn't read it, which is most people, I guess, but this is a drug in the book that plays a important role. So the cocktail is bourbon, Averna Amaro, cherry liqueur, orange bitters, and maraschino cherry, and he goes into it a little bit of the recipe. I'll shoot it over to Tara.
I am so excited about this.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you.
Shout out to Stray Bullies.
Yeah,
he's great.
He does a great job. He makes amazing cocktails. And so this is a strange new antidepressant called Somnia. Anyway, fuck Greg. He's a weirdo.
Fuck Greg.
Yeah.
Greg is Ash's stepdad, if anyone, because I feel whoever's
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't bring that up. But there you go. There's a Somnia cocktail. The other things that I wanted to ask you before we let you go, though. So first of all, the book, I believe, is coming out September 17th, and you're doing a signing that day, right?
Yes. So me, Pete, and Lisa are all doing a signing in LA at the Barnes & Noble at the Grove.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
It'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the day that it comes out.
Awesome.
So exciting.
And anything else you want to plug? Anything else folks should check out from you?
I guess something I would definitely plug is Daisy Grenade. If everyone can go check out Daisy Grenade. It is a band that me and Pete both work on. We've been working with them for a couple of years now, and they are killing it. And I'm so proud of them. I actually went to high school with one of the lead singers, and that's how we all
that's awesome.
together. And they're really talented girls. So I would definitely say that. And other than that, I can't talk about my film stuff because it's,
So,
Sure.
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I get it.
So just for anyone listening, there was a lot of waving fingers.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Because it's a podcast. Sorry. Yeah. Wavy fingers.
It's a
Magical figures.
But I would just say, check out Daisy Grenade.
Can you describe their music a little bit for people that don't know?
It's a great name.
Yeah, they're Spice Girls-esque, right? Is
Nah,
that
just
fair?
be cool,
Would
Alex.
you,
Be
Alex,
cool.
Okay, I'll
stop
back off.
pushing
I'll
your
back off.
That's
agenda.
you. That's you.
Stop pushing your
Sorry.
agenda.
I would
You're
say
emo.
they're pop punk. Sorry, my cat just meowed so loudly.
Wow.
They're
That
pop
was
punk.
actually quite loud from a distance.
She's a fan of Daisy Grenade, and she's like,
Yeah,
you guys are
huge
fucking this
fan of
up.
Daisy Grenade. He's literally 14 years old and 7 pounds. It can make the biggest noises. But they are pop punk. I would say that they're like a little bit like an Olivia Rodrigo mixed with a Paramore. That's how I would.
Nice.
them.
Great.
Nice.
And if anyone's ever get a chance to see them live, they are incredible. And they'll be at the While We Were Young Fest in Vegas this year, which is that big emo festival.
Yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, the cat's back. All right.
Excellent. Hannah, thank you so much for coming on. Congratulations
so
on the
much.
book.
Yeah, congrats.
I fingers crossed. I hope we get more of them. So
Yeah.
Me too. It would be a pleasure. This was probably the best writing experience I've ever had. And working with Vault is like, I've never worked with anyone who supports their artists and their writers as much as they're incredible to work with. If anyone ever is thinking of working with them or supporting them, I'm a huge fan of Vault. So
awesome. Hannah, thank you again so much. Have a great night.
Yeah,
Great book.
congratulations.
Great
nice to meet you
work.
guys.
All right.
See you.
Later.
All right, there we go. Once again, the book is called Dying Inside. It's coming out on September 17th from Vault Comics, so definitely check it out. It is awesome.
Really great.
Seriously, so good. I know we didn't really call this out, but it has like a little bit of Buffy vibes. It doesn't quite get there and isn't quite as intense, but I saw the TV glow, got a little bit of that as well.
Okay. Yeah.
But great stuff. Really, really good. And we are going to move on with our next section, which is my favorite section because you all make it up. It is your audience question. And for audience questions, all you got to do is drop a question in the comments. You can leave them on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch. I'll give a little glance at Instagram if you're watching over there. as
What a
well.
treat.
But what are you guys
Instagram.
drinking tonight? What you drinking? Pete? Little land shark?
Knock, knock. Who's there?
Land shark, yes.
I gotta ask you on the consumption. Are you buying like a case of that every? Like, how's it going?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
did you get like 52 of them? Or you drink once a week?
Yeah, it's like a
Are
30
you
pack.
an
you know,
heir to the land shark?
that I'm working my way through, but I got a new beer coming.
No. Wow. I like that you're.
I
teasing
went out and
me.
bought a different 30 pack from a different, so
See, I'm gonna check the news and see if a land shark truck wasn't accidentally robbed in York, Pennsylvania, or something, because it's suspicious. I gotta say that.
I am drinking a Lagunitas little something something. There you go.
Classic
Good
Al.
stuff.
You've had those
That's
before.
the Spice
I
Girls
have.
drink. I had a one of my classic smooth margaritas, which is grapefruit tequila that I make, and Italicus, the
Did
bergamot.
you sneeze? Did you just sneeze there for a
No,
second?
that's the thing. And now I'm drinking a Modelo
Oh, yeah, Modelo. Come on.
with Paxlovid ground up in it. 'Cause
Ah.
It's doing the job. You know?
All right, why don't we go to some questions? Scheukler asks, what are your favorite libraries, archives, and comics? Not a lot of them, Scheukler. I guess Sandman's
Could be a lot.
library from
Yeah,
Sandman.
Sandman's
I mean,
library.
well, that's what I was going to say. Wow, look at you guys at the same time. But I was going to say the Library of Unwritten Books is actually a genius concept.
Mhm.
And it was especially well done in, I believe, Books of Magic, when the librarian is holding one of the books, pulls it off, and it bursts into flames because Tim starts actually writing the book that he always promised he would write. And I thought that was a very cool use of a great idea that Neil Gaiman came up with.
Yeah, there you go.
Wasn't there a cool library in Lock and Key? Am I making that up?
Yeah, I mean,
they had books on shelves.
Yeah. Yeah. What makes a
Does
library?
that count?
Great
I feel
question.
like that counts.
Yeah, there you go. Chris Sova over on Facebook says,
There's a library right here.
Hey,
Hey,
Chris
I got
Sova on
libraries.
Facebook says, hey, I just wanted to say thanks. I recently got into comics in the last few months and look forward to your comic wisdom each week.
Hey,
Chris,
welcome to comics,
That is
Chris.
so nice.
Come
Thank
on,
you, Chris.
jump on in.
Yeah.
Plenty of room.
And if you
Right.
ever have any questions about what to check out or anything, obviously we give a lot of recommendations on the show, but we are always happy to give specific recommendations to your interests.
So I'm just writing down the word wisdom. I haven't heard that about myself. Very often. Just
Oh,
wanted
do you
to
have a
make sure you keep
compliment
track.
book?
Yeah,
what do you-
yeah. How do you guys keep track of your compliments? You just try to remember them?
I do not.
Oh, no.
You're just like, on this date, are you gonna go when you're old? You're just gonna look through your book and just be like, "Oh yeah, someone said something once."
August
No,
20th.
I don't keep track of the compliments, but I do mentally keep track of all of the terrible things that have happened, and I run through them every night right before I
Yeah,
go
see,
to sleep.
I find we're both doing this. That's like
Hey,
the
Alex,
Sandman library.
I don't want to, jump
what's up?
on, but go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Just
Oh, I don't remember
Throw that in
any
there.
of that.
There's a whole Dewey Decimal wing in the library of Pete saying, "Go fuck yourself."
Yeah. Oh no, you're looking for "Go Fuck Yourself" with 3 O's after the G. That's over 2 shelves over.
Pull it out, take it home, just thumb through it as you fall asleep at night. Go fuck yourself. Go fuck yourself.
hey, it's Kyle Jones.
Kyle Jones says, sorry if this has been asked before. I always wondered how you read all the books in time for the stack each week. Digital review copy sent the day before, or do you binge them in one session? So the stack comes out at 9 a.m. at our local comic book store. As we've established before, we sleep in a triple-decker bed, Huey, Louie, and Dewey style.
Yep.
Yeah.
We wake up
HLB
first thing in the
style,
morning,
as
set
they
the
say.
alarm for 5 a.m., all take a shower together, hop in the car, and it's one of those
It's not
Flintstone
weird.
co-
It's a triple shower.
Yeah, it's a triple
Oh,
shower.
okay. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, exactly. And we get one of the Flintstone cars, so we power it with our feet, go over to the comic book shop. We're usually there by 6 a.m. Head over to the Wendy's, get a Baconator or two, and then read all the comics, and then we're ready to put it out in time for 9.
And
I do-
think I screw around a little bit and end up reading them all between 8:50 and 8:58.
I do miss the good old days when we would actually get to the show hours early and we would have the comics that we've read and we would fight over what should be in the stack or not. That
Well-
was good times. But yeah, we get them days before and I binge the shit out of it. It's a glorious time.
Just setting a little bit of a vision of that, we would sit in the tiniest room you can imagine. Think of a room where there's not enough for 3 bodies, but the ceilings are weirdly high, and we would sit in there and silently read so many comic books hours before the show started.
Yeah.
Yes, and then we'd cull it down to 3 of them. That
Yep.
is what we would do, and that was the stack. Whoa, back in the day. But yes, to seriously answer your question, Kyle, yes, we get, I think, every major publisher in advance. So usually, as they come in, I'll go through them, sort of call them together. I'll send them out to Justin Pete. Obviously, if there's anything that I've missed, Justin or Pete will let me know. We'll add it into the stack. But we read that stuff, and then we tape it after the live show. So it's a very long Tuesday night. But that way, the main goal there is that way we can have it up at Wednesday, 9 a.m. so that one guy can listen to it on his drive from one comic book to
That guy's living his best life, man.
He
Drive
really
from one
is.
comic book shop to the other. I mean, that's great.
Imagine the opulence going to 2 comic book shops.
Oh,
and I gotta
love it.
ask though, why? What's different about them?
I don't know, maybe
different
they have
comic-
Well,
different
I think it's
selection.
fun to go to different comic book shops. So on Wednesday, he treats himself to not one great place, but 2.
Well, and
Hell yeah,
here's
but
the
one
thing.
of them's definitely better than the other one, right?
Yeah,
No,
I don't
you
know. I mean,
that.
I'd
They're
also
good
say, though,
different ways.
we are very spoiled in New York with multiple comic book shops and Midtown Comics, which has
Midtown
absolutely
Comics.
everything. You go to other places and they're not necessarily going to order absolutely everything. I don't know. I do not remember where this guy lives. I assume it's somewhere in Connecticut, but I could be wrong. But, you know,
Could be
maybe one place orders more of Marvel, the other place orders more of DC, or it's checking in with friends or something like that. I don't know his life. Leave me alone.
Wow, that's nice. It is
Thanks,
crazy.
Kyle Jones.
I started this comic book journey at a spinner rack, randomly picking up comics, and now it's a totally different world where there are comic book shops everywhere. Going to multiple comic book shops, getting so many non-big 2 comics basically everywhere.
Yeah.
Good times.
Come a long way.
Also, good times with all of your audience questions. We are going to move on with our next section, which is trivia. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Pete LePage.
All right. All right, this is the part we give back to you, the lovely audience. It's an opportunity to win $25 free to Midtown Comics Online. Because if you had $25, you want to go get some effing comics. Am I right? I mean, come on. All we need is one brave volunteer, and you will win $25 free to Midtown
And just to be
Comics
clear,
Online.
bravery is not a qualifier. You don't have to do
Yeah,
it.
It takes a little bravery to
You
be
can be
like, hey,
scared.
I'll do it. Yeah.
Or terrified. It could be like, yeah, me.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can be.
And we'll take good care of you. We won't
You can
shame
say,
you or anything.
Mamma
Chris.
mia.
Hey, Chris is in.
Hey.
Chris is back.
Me.
This Chris guy, man. All right.
He said me. No me's. No nervous.
Okay,
chattering.
today's trivia.
Ghost.
Today's trivia is about the amazing comic Incredible Hulk number 140 and a small nod to the legend Martin Mull, R.I.P. Colonel Mustard.
All right, I got to look up when he died. Because this
Please
is
listen
insane.
to all three options before making your selection.
He died on June 27th, Pete.
We're still in June, Alex.
You got to
We're
skip some
still in
people.
June.
You have to skip some people. This already insane section of the show is getting only steadily more
Hey,
unhinged.
it's
I
getting away
can't
from us.
control the rate famous people are dying, okay?
I mean, it's only going to increase, Pete.
Yeah.
The fame is killing them. The fame is killing them, Pete.
Okay, here we go. Question
Martin
number
Mull's
one.
the first to fall.
What is the title of this amazing story arc? Is it A, The Brute That Shouted Love at the Heart of an Atom, B, Always Pick the Longest Answer, or C, Velvet Roads?
Wow. Velvet Rhodes is a person?
That's a real name, and I love it. Velvet Roads.
RHODES? Or,
Yes.
Okay.
Take me home, Velvet Roads. It's the opposite of country roads.
I mean, think about how great it would be if you lived on a Velvet Road. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Or get dirty really quickly.
Everyone
you
be
always
having
think of the negative first, man.
I'm
Negative.
being practical. I just don't think it's practical to make a road out of velvet.
Who
That's
says
all
you
I'm
have
saying.
to clean it all the time? If you're making a
You
road,
don't
you're
clean the
cleaning it
road
first.
outside of your house constantly?
No, I
I'm
let the
always
Velvet
going
Road-
up and down, sweeping the whole road.
I make sure the Velvet Road is dirty. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, boy.
Velvet Road. Is that a hint to pick C?
No.
sorry.
A is
Please
the
don't
correct
listen to
answer,
it.
Chris.
Chris,
Chris,
don't
A.
listen to it.
I even for B, I said pick the longest answer.
Okay.
I
Well,
love the idea
that's
if there's you think we're helping you with this.
no.
Yeah. All right, here we go. Question number 2.
David
What?
Quinley also playing. David Quinley's like, I'm also playing.
Nice. Get in there, David. Help Chris out. I appreciate it. Question number 2. What is the name of the subatomic empress Hulk falls in love with? Is it A, Betty Ross, B, Jarella, or C, Kay Dingle?
Wow. This is
Another
what I call
banger
classic-
name.
Classic trivia.
Kay Dingle.
This is an actual question where there are multiple answers. You really have to think about it.
Yeah,
Mike.
you're really fucking up here, Pete, by giving actual answers to this trivia.
Pick B.
Kay Dingle.
Chris.
Say.
Oh, right. Scheukler correctly points out that Chris can't see David. They're in different worlds because one's on Facebook and one's on YouTube.
Yeah, but they're both watching us talk.
Chris says C. Love that name.
It is a great name, but it is B. Jarella. Here we go. Let's see if we can get all three wrong. Here we go. Question number 3. Who is one of the artists on this fantastic comic? Is it A, Herb Trimpe? Pick that one. That's correct. B, just because he has a rainbow sweater doesn't mean you can call him that. C, Gay Kruger.
What?
Oh boy.
These
David
names are
Page.
real.
Yeah, that's
These
a real
names are
name.
Yeah, it's a Martin Mull movie. So
Hey, yes, Herb Trimpe is correct. And of course, we're talking about the 1983 hit Mr. Mom. Shouts
What?
out.
Wow. You could throw Michael Keaton out there for Mr. Mom?
Well, I didn't want to give it away. You know what I mean? Because
That would've-
Scheukler will guess
no,
it
it would
before
not
I
have.
can say it.
you're not in a silent Cold War with Scheukler.
Yes, I am. How dare you? Also,
That's fair. I believe
I just
that he
wanted to quickly shout out to the king of daytime talk show, R.I.P.
No,
Phil Donahue.
no.
He's not in any movies.
I have him down on the schedule. We're going to talk about Phil Donahue dying sometime in January, all right? There's a very specific schedule we have.
No, you guys give me shit. I tried to do this because he's not in any movies.
I told you the next 10 celebrities that are about to die, all right? And we put them on the schedule.
Yeah.
And Phil Donahue.
We said that January is Phil Donahue month. Not only this year, but every year.
Since
2025,
Zalvin brought him up in the Slack, and we do have a T-shirt that references the legend, so I wanted to give Phil Donahue.
For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, because you didn't listen to one random episode of, I want to say, our Sabrina podcast.
Deadly Cast.
Yeah,
great, Deadly Cast.
Yep.
Which I definitely know what TV show that's based on, off the top of my head right
Deadly
now.
Class.
Yes, no, I do. But when you first said it, I was like, sure. But Pete is a huge Phil Donahue fan to the point that we had to have almost a fight about it. I want to say. And I got to say, when he died, a lot of tributes to Phil. And he was a real one.
Yeah,
he was a real one.
Yeah. But he doesn't get a tribute here on the show until sometime in January, as we've established. Now, in the
trying
meantime,
to help you, Alex, keep your mental sanity in check. And then you shit on
my mental
me,
sanity is just
you shit
skip
on
ahead. Skip whoever, Bob Newhart, like, who even cares? You know what I'm talking about? And just cut to the next thing.
All right,
the idea that either of you are trying to help each other's mental sanity is insane.
Well, it's really going to help me to talk about the new comic books that are coming out this week. Pete, what are you looking forward to?
Oh, my God. This is a great week for me. I mean, we got Wolverine Revenge #1. Also,
Jonathan Hickman, Greg Capullo, who I met briefly this weekend.
Asshole.
Yeah.
You had to bring that up.
I can't believe you didn't talk about that more.
Nightwing #117 is also a banger.
Yeah. Justin, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Great picks, Pete. They are fun. There's a lot of Tom King and Jonathan Hickman in the stack coming out.
Yeah.
But I want to shout out a couple. So very excited for those books. But two other ones. Black Cloak #7 by Kelly Thompson and Meredith McLaren coming out. So psyched for that. Love Black Cloak. Ready to see some brand new stuff from that. And of course, Crocodile Black #4. Johnson is if it's his Boom Studios book, really dark, really wild, but looking forward to see where this goes next.
I'm looking forward to Jenny Sparks #1 coming out from DC Comics, written by Tom King, art by Jeff Spokes. Always an interesting time whenever Tom King drops a book like that. The other one that I want to give a shout out to is Self-Help #3 from Image Comics. This is a fun, twisty noir book from Owen King and Jesse Kellerman. We had them on the show a couple of months back at this point.
We should have talked to them.
We did talk about it. I'm really enjoying it. It just keeps twisting and turning in ways that I'm not expecting. And as mentioned earlier in the show, all of those books and many, many more books are going to be in our Stack podcast that comes out Wednesday, 9 a.m. in its own dedicated Stack feed, as well as the Comic Book Club feed. And folks, that is it for this week's show.
See you in the triple bunk beds, guys.
Yeah, a couple of people we want to thank. We want to thank Hannah Klein for coming on. Check out Dying Inside when it comes out from Vault Comics on September 17th. Also, Eliot Rahal for talking about the Cursed Library. Alpha comes out tomorrow, August 21st from Archie Comics, so check that out as well. Next week on the show, more Archie Comics stuff. Ian Flynn is going to be on to talk about his work in the mainline Archie Comics books. We've only been talking about the horror stuff. Time to turn back to the funny pages. Also, Adam Lawson is going to be here to talk about Kids and Monsters. A couple of other things to plug. Umbrella Podcademy. Our Umbrella Academy podcast has finished up forever.
Man.
Last episode is up now. Comic Book Club News, our daily news show, Monday through Friday, every day of the week. Check that out. Patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Support the show and all the shows we do. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple, Android, Spotify, or the app of your choice. At Comic Book Live on Twitter/X. Comic Book Club Live on Instagram. Comic Book Club Live on TikTok. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, good night.
Good night. Donahue family, check out our Deadly Cast episode.
So grab your written hammer, don't be late for it, 'cause their girlfriend can barely tolerate it. Coming back,
Shout out to Kenny Cords.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Deep cut.